Welcome back to my channel, folks. Thanks for joining this evening. This is the second broadcast today, and I hope you find it just as interesting as the one we had this afternoon. Great feedback all afternoon from you folks. Lots of good questions coming in. I'm really excited about the two entrepreneurs joining us this evening. I was recently on their podcast show. Great feedback all afternoon from you folks. Lots of good questions coming. And that just shows you that I am still learning how the technology works. So I had a loop back on my own YouTube. Sorry, folks. But fantastic feedback this afternoon from the podcast we did. I hope you found it useful, talking about entrepreneurship, health and well-being. As I was just saying, I was on the podcast Hustle recently, and the guys behind this podcast are joining us this evening. They are entrepreneurs through and through. They have some fantastic brands. Skin Sorbet, again, the links to all these brands will be in the bottom, is one of the brands that Lex runs. He'll be telling us about that this evening. We'll be talking about all sorts of different things, hopefully getting you guys to understand, if you're listening to this overseas, what's happening in London right now, what's happening during lockdown, how entrepreneurs are managing to hustle their way out of the difficult time and innovate in this ever-changing environment. Now, we will be taking questions. So if you guys, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, if you've got questions, throw them out and we will try to answer them. And I think without further ado, I'd like to bring on my two guests, Subomi and Lex. Come on, guys, join us. Come and say hello to everybody.
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Welcome. Now, you know my mission here. My mission is to help 1 million people start a business of their own. We're trying to give people the inside knowledge of what entrepreneurship is all about, the truth, none of that bullshit about how glamorous it all is, although sometimes we can throw some glamour in there if we want. But I was excited to have you guys on. I loved being on your podcast, and people can check it out, the link below. And I absolutely love what you guys have been doing. But it's great to have you here. And I was lucky enough to be able to meet you guys in person for your podcast show. Lots of rules have been eased, but here we are back in this strange situation, not being able to meet face to face. But why don't we start off by you telling the audience about yourselves? Subomi, why don't you start?
Yeah, cool. So hi, I'm Subomi. I am a digital marketer. So I run a digital marketing agency. I also am co-host of a podcast called Hustle Smart. So with Hustle Smart, we just same kind of mission as Simon. We try to show people what's behind the curtain in a sense of how to achieve their full potential, areas in which they might not be well educated in, things like financial education or starting a business, scaling a business, or putting your best foot forward when it comes to getting into your career. And then with the digital marketing agency, I help businesses improve their online web presence. So businesses being much more digital, helping them in terms of optimizing a website or running campaigns, whether that's on Instagram or Google. Just things like that is what we try and do with our agency.
Hi guys, my name's Lex. So my day job, I'm a financial services consultant, and obviously I co-host the Hustle Smart podcast with Subomi. And as of recent, during lockdown, I started a business called Skin Sorbet. So it's a skincare brand, organic and natural skincare brand, and what we aim to do is literally just promote good skin, promote healthy skin from within. So putting all those essential oils back into your skin, and everyone just have a glowing skin, basically. It's pretty in a nutshell.
So I remember last time thinking this about you, Lex. I don't know how you managed to do it with a full-time job, and I know your full-time job is quite mentally taxing as well, right?
Yeah.
But I think we discussed this a little bit last time, but I'd love to just get into it a bit. I mean, you mentioned before that, you quite like having that kind of multi-task opportunities ahead of you.
Yeah. So my mind is always running at 1,000,000 miles per hour. I'm always thinking, how can I do something better? How can I better myself? And to answer your question, how I was actually able to launch the brand was just sacrifice. So sacrificing sleep, sacrificing just going out with friends, and just really just putting my time and just allocating efficiently into the brand. It does take time. It is very time consuming, but just like anything worthwhile requires sacrifice, and especially what pushes me to throw myself in it even more is the fact that I can see the benefit it's having on people. So when the page is being sent reviews and it's actually changing people's skin, it's actually bringing people more confidence. People are actually smiling about their product when they're applying the product to their skin. You know, they're doing it with happiness. So yeah.
I mean, the thing is, what's interesting to me, and that's why I love doing podcasts like this, is I pretty much say to everybody, you've got to focus in on one thing at once. I think what I like about your story is you prove me wrong, really. You know, I think sometimes these rules you see out on Instagram where it's like, you know, how you should do things, and everyone's different, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. Everyone's different. Everyone's going to do it a different way, right? So it's working for you, and I think that's an important lesson for people to hear. I do wonder how anyone can do more than one business at once, because I find doing one business so intense. But I guess, is there a formula you want to share? Is there any, other than the sacrifice piece, which I totally get, is there any other way you have time allocation, time management? Is there any other tip?
So I focus on things that I'm good at. Anything I'm not good at, I get help from people around me. So for example, just like yourself, Simon, I'm dyslexic as well. But I'm more numerically dyslexic. So anything that comes with anything to do with numbers, my brain just shuts down, it goes into a panic, and it's just madness and chaos. So for example, doing the financials, I get help from a friend. So I don't necessarily have a formula. I guess it's just not being prideful and not being emotionally attached to the business to say, look, you know what, I'm not good at this. Can you help me with that?
I wonder if having a serious, I guess, issue like I've got with dyslexia actually in a way ends up teaching you this lesson, because I think for people that don't have a particular strength or weakness, sometimes they can end up doing everything. But when you do have a particular deficit in one area, like for me, when I was at school, and I used to get really nervous when the teacher used to say to read a book and then you have to write an essay on it. And then I basically panic. And what I ended up doing around 10 years old, and I asked my friends, all 10, 12 of them, to tell me their view on the story. I didn't have time to read. I couldn't read it, and I wasn't able to read it because it would have taken me forever to read any book. And what I found really interesting about that experience was that I'd get 12 different views on the same book, whereas that person that read that book, they would only have one view, the one that they interpreted from the book that they'd read. Whereas I managed to get 12 different viewpoints of the same book. And as I developed, I found that would end up being a superpower, where I would get more knowledge from asking other people than I would from reading the book myself, as the teacher had told me to do. And so, I wonder if there's something in that. Now, Subomi, I know you're pretty much perfect, so you don't have any weaknesses, right? But what's your take on all this?
So yeah, very much. I definitely agree with Alex in terms of making sure you're not too emotionally attached to the business, where you can ask for help. Very early on, I built a team with people who had the same vision and same kind of mindset. I'm also very big on partnerships as well, just because two heads is better than one. Two minds joining together is always going to help you think bigger in a sense. So same way Alex and I decided to do the podcast together, just so we have different kind of viewpoints, so we don't always see things eye to eye. But I mean, life is all subjective and kind of relative as well. So having different opinions and viewpoints is super important in anything and everything. So I'm super big on building a team. One saying that I learned very much early on in business is build a team so strong you don't know who the boss is. So there's no ego. Everyone is playing a position and everyone's helping the business kind of achieve their vision and their true goal. So just like Alex said, being able to kind of delegate as well as share the workload and have people who kind of drive the business with you is very key in business. And just kind of knowing and being self-aware, knowing where your strengths lie and where your weak points are will help you kind of see that, okay, I can't do it all and I'm going to be better maybe outsourcing or getting someone else to handle this part of the business.
How did you guys get so wise so young? I really feel like, in my 20s, I made so many mistakes. I wish I'd known you guys. I wasn't until in my 40s, I look back and realize I know some stuff now. But it's, the partnership thing you're bringing up there is fascinating to me, because I've invested in 67 startups, so I've seen every type of partnership there is, and some have got really messy and been big problems, and others have worked out like a dream. I mean, do you think there's any particular formula that works for partnerships?
I think once again, just self-awareness, knowing what type of person you are, whether you're able to work with people, and I think ego as well plays a huge part. People being told, no, I don't want to do this, or people kind of having the entitlement. So just not really treating people the right way will really hold you back in terms of partnerships. The reason why I'm big on partnerships is because I'm easy to work with people. Just in my kind of where I am, I'm very laid back. So nothing really gets me annoyed or gets me kind of angry, or I'm quite slow to react in things. So working with people who are more hyper than me, it kind of goes well, just in the term where it's not two heads button. But if there's two kind of egos kind of colliding, you're not really going to be able to have the best partnership. So it's being self-aware and whether you're good at working with people, and also whether this person is the best person to partner with as well. And just having that transparency and honesty in a sense of like, okay, we're both trying to figure these things out. Let's be real with each other. Let's be honest with each other. And just being committed and finding people who have the same kind of values or level of commitment as well is a difficulty in terms of business partnerships. So it's very important to kind of figure that out very early on whilst kind of building the foundations, or else further along the line it will really kind of show and the cracks will start coming in as well.
And I think also off the back of that, one key thing is you can't, when it comes to business and partnerships, you can't have pride, because as Subomi said, when you have pride, that's when the two heads butt together, and you also have to be, as you said, open and transparent. So for example, if I'm feeling, so for example, I think it was last week, me and Subomi wanted to do something, and I wasn't necessarily motivated, and I was just open. I said, Subomi, look, I'm not gonna lie to you, I can't do it right now. My head's gone, I just need to take a minute to just take a breather. And what he done, he didn't look down on me, he didn't chastise me in any way, shape or form, but he just gave me a pep talk. He was like, listen, like, at the end of the day, we're in this together. It's a team, it's a partnership. And also, I guess, Subomi, you hit a very good point in terms of knowing who you're working with. And I think how me and Subomi work, we're very different to the extent where it makes us both compatible. So he's very slow to react. I'm very quick. I don't plan. If I have an idea, I execute. But when I'm in that mind state, he kind of puts me back in my place and says, listen, you can't just always be just quick to shoot. You have to plan, follow the process, so on and so forth. I don't think there's a one size fits all formula, because there's a lot of factors that come into play when it comes to business and partnerships.
Yeah, but like Alex just said as well, in terms of the pep talk, that's why I'm so big on partnerships as well, because it's easy to get demotivated doing a business by yourself, but like everything, it takes a village, right? So once you have someone who you can lean in on and say, okay, this is how I'm feeling demotivated, you have someone to pick you up. So that's why I'm big on partnerships, because you can just be by yourself, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally, I do. It's interesting, I guess. Who taught you guys this stuff?
That's a very interesting question. A lot of things that I've learned in my life so far has been off of trial and error. So in school, I used to underachieve. But similarly, I used to throw myself in the deep end. I like to run before I can't walk, and that's sometimes it's a mistake. And from earlier, I was working, paper round, part-time job, work experience, and whenever I enter a new environment, I always like to sit back and observe how people work, how people speak, how people think, and I try and adapt that to myself, and literally just extract the lessons learned. So I guess it's just observing people, having conversations like these, being able to identify people's mistakes and just learning from them, to be honest.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, in regards to me, I guess just information is much more accessible now. Like, there's so much you can learn from the internet, so much you can learn from videos, so much you can learn from speaking to people like yourself as well, and just leveraging from their mistakes. And also, like Alex said, trial and error. I was very fortunate to work for a small business right after university, which helped me see kind of a lot and just real life. Like, I think it's so important to have skin in the game. Once you have skin in the game, like once you have yourself doing it, you learn so much more than just reading. Like, I think Gary Vee says something like, you can't read about push-ups, you have to do push-ups. So like once you get yourself in the field and in the trenches, that's when you kind of learn a lot more about life in general and business as well.
Yeah, there's a good analogy with a push-ups, because I think some people don't realize the benefit of doing push-ups until they do them, you know, or it sounds like work, doesn't it? Oh, I have to do push-ups. I think it's interesting. I've been, as you guys know, trying to help people start businesses, and you can take a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. You know, it's really hard for people have to kind of do it themselves. They have to do the push-up themselves, you know. I've got loads of questions coming in, but I still want to hear more of your story. But I'll read one so people don't think I'm ignoring them. Someone's asking here, Des Jones is asking, I feel I have a good business idea, but how do I get over the fear of leaving my 9-to-5 job?
So it's a very interesting question, and I was actually having a similar conversation with my mentor about it. So I guess one thing to consider is your current position, and take fear out of it, right? Fear is an emotion, and I think that's an emotion, as Sam, you say, you either have to embrace, or what I say, you either have to have under control, and make it more of a calculated decision, and also a very logical decision. So put into perspective your current position. Can you afford to leave your 9-to-5? If you can't, it's pretty black and white, right? You need that that constant flow of income to keep you afloat, to pay bills, whatever, to live life. Do you have the time to do both your 9-to-5 and your business? If you do, then manage it and allocate your time accordingly. If you do have the time to do both, think about some of the tasks that you can offload onto someone else. Think about building the team. When you are building the team, ask these people, or even ask yourself, how much do they want it? Because if they want it more than you, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I can't really speak much on that because, like, funny enough, even though I work for myself full time now, I kind of decided to go all in once I was out of a job. So my decision was made much more easier to me. But I guess it's just knowing kind of where you are. I think having enough money in the bank to kind of last you for a while, but also knowing your business as well, it has systems in place. For example, I'm a digital marketer, so I have retainers. So once I have 2 retainers, I'm like, okay, that's my income and that's my team's income kind of covered. So I guess it's just having systems in place where you're actually able to sustain and run as a business, because what most people do, they use their 9-to-5 income to generate money for their business and then kind of get a return on investment and stuff like that. So I guess it's just knowing whether you have enough to kind of breathe and run the business and sustain it as well. And also if you have enough discipline as well. Funny enough, when you're in a 9-to-5, you have your roles and your things to do. But when you're working for yourself, it's like you're just putting out fires. So it's knowing that, okay, cool, if I am to go full time, I'm able to kind of get up in bed, treat it like I treat my 9-to-5, and then also make sure I have enough discipline to make sure I'm going overtime as well and doing what needs to be done.
Also, on that note, there's a very good book that even I've been reading myself, or I've been listening to it. It's called The E-Myth Revisited, and basically it talks about entrepreneurship at the bare bones, and it says that there's three types of people when it comes to business. There's the manager, technician, and the entrepreneur. Entrepreneur focuses on the strategic direction of the business. The manager looks at the works in present time just to make sure that everything is getting done, and the technician works on, I guess, the churning out of the product day to day. So I would definitely suggest read that book and ask yourself, which person are you? Because it's impossible to be all three. Because as Subomi said, you'll just be putting out fires and eventually you'll fall in the trap of working within your business as opposed to working on your business.
Yeah, I mean, it's great advice. I would add that I've seen cases where, ironically, if you leave and focus on your business, the money comes to justify you having left and focused on the business. It's like a chicken egg problem for a lot of people. And I guess, you know, the stats highlight this. What people say on their deathbed is often the things they didn't do that they wish they had done. You know, they're regretting not doing what you could have done. You know, like if you stay in that job and you die, you've got a house, you leave it to your child, you know, you might look back and think, what if I tried that idea and didn't? You know, that's what you're going to regret. And the other thing I think is, you know, I know your backgrounds are different. I basically had no choice but to work for myself, and that was actually a great thing, because unlike you guys, I couldn't. No one would give me a job. That was actually a benefit, because it's not like I could say, you know, it's called burning the boats, right? The whole Viking thing. When you get to somewhere you want to conquer, you burn the boats that got you there, because that way there's just no way you can go back. And so sometimes when you've got choices to go back, I think people have lifestyle inflation. So they end up increasing their costs, and then they can't have these choices because they've spent on a house they didn't really need, and a car they didn't really need, and they got used to 2 holidays a year. So their idea of what they've got to earn means that they can't give up the 9 to 5 because they got so addicted to costs, right? What do you guys think of all that?
I definitely agree with you, and I think coming straight out of university into a job, I definitely fell into that trap, Simon. So growing up in a household that didn't have much money, when I came into contact with money, you know, I was like, wow, I'm just gonna spend it all. And then I reached the point I was like, there's so much more to life than all these material things. And it was difficult, but it came to a point in my life where I wanted to make things happen. I wanted to do investments. I wanted to start a business, and I had to make the required cutbacks. So whether it's, for example, taking packed lunch to work, not going to the social drinks on a Thursday, not going out on the weekend, not even buying new clothes. Like now, or even on the weekend when before lockdown, I was wearing tracksuits and sliders all day. And I think it's a common trap that a lot of millennials fall into straight after uni, because in uni you're in your overdraft, more time you're broke, eating noodles or pizza or whatever, and then when you start working, you just go crazy. And I think that's definitely it. Like, please learn from my mistake. Anyone that's a millennial, even if you're not a millennial and you're older than me and you're used to a certain lifestyle, ask yourself, what is required for you to actually just live, right? And don't surround yourself with all these temporary materials, because there's so much more to life than all these things.
If people are listening on audio, by the way, guys, they might not, you know, how old are you guys? I'm 23.
I'm 26.
Honestly, when I listen to you, you know, you sound like you're coming up to 40, you know. I mean that as a compliment. I mean that as a massive. The knowledge you have at your age, the experience you guys seem to have gained, and insight, it kind of blows my mind a bit, because I feel like, you know, the understanding of cost control. I mean, it sounds like you went through that process very quickly, Lex. It sounds like you had that money, you learned a lesson. It doesn't sound like it was like 10 years of your life. Well, it can't have been, right? It sounds like that was like a 6-month blip. But most people I meet, you know, in their late 30s, who dream of having their own business, they kind of look at me, you know, swanning around now, not having to work every day like I used to, like almost like, how did you do that? You know, I'm a lawyer. I should be doing that now. How did you do that? And you then explain to them that when they were in their 20s, buying themselves a flashy car and talking about the fancy holidays they were going on, I was sleeping under my desk. You know, so that's the sacrifice that I made. I didn't buy a house and have all this status when I was younger, so that later in life I could spend time with my family. When my son was born, I could spend time with him. So I made the sacrifice young. But so many people will not compute with that. But I feel like it's taking me that 40 years to get to the point where I didn't know what you're talking. I did it because I couldn't get a job. Yeah. I didn't do it like you guys have options. I mean, I know. Yeah. Subomi, you were working for Converse for a while, for example. I mean, I dream of working for Converse for a while. They wouldn't give me a job. They wouldn't even give me a free pair of shoes. You know?
That's the thing, Simon.
In front of you, how do you know that that's not the right thing to do? Where does that come from?
It's very So yeah, it's very much like you said, burning the boats. I came across the whole idea, say about a few months ago, where it's just burn the boats, just go all in and bet on yourself. So very much like you said, knowing there's options for me, kind of get a job in which I can probably brag about and say, oh yeah, to my friends, yeah, this is where I work. But to me, it's more like you said, making sure that when I am on the deathbed and knowing that, yeah, I've done everything I set my mind to. And very, very early on, I understood my own mortality, knowing that I'm here for a limited time. So knowing that during my time, I want to be able to do what I do. And Simon, you said one thing to me as well during our podcast where you said, enjoy your day to day and build something you're proud of. And I've written that down on my board because that's something that I'm living by, knowing that every day I'm doing what I want to do in terms of the work I want to do, having conversations with the people I want to have conversations with, working with the people who I believe in and want to work with as well. Building that and betting on myself at a young age, knowing that, okay, in 10 years, I'm going to look back and be glad I did that rather than, okay, let me save up or let me work a job so I can get enough money to have a house or stuff like that. So just knowing kind of in terms of that a long term, what I want out of life and making sure I'm making the decisions right now, if you know what I mean. And taking that risk while I can as well.
Yeah, and off the back of that, I think my kind of attitude and mindset comes from being told no when I was younger so many times. So in school I used to underachieve, and I remember asking my teacher, I was like, okay, I'm in bottom set, why can't I move up set? He said, you can't because you don't have X amount of grades. So for me, it's like, okay, someone else is telling me this, right? Why can't I just create my own rules? I want to go on holiday tomorrow. I can't because I have to book a holiday at work. It's like, okay, if I have my own business, I can do what I want. I can create my own rules, kind of thing. So I guess that's where it comes from. And even and Subomi, you said something. It's about taking a risk. The guy that asked the question, he said, "How did he get over the fear?" I don't think you can necessarily fully get over fear because we're human. We all have emotions. It's just about reconfiguring your mindset and reconfiguring your risk appetite. Take the risk because it can pay dividends. There's no without risk, there's no reward. If you look at some of the great business moguls, they bet on themselves and they take risks. Even in the world of work, you take risks. So I guess embrace it.
I mean, I covered this in the podcast with you guys. So just for the audience listening that haven't yet listened to your podcast, I don't want to repeat it, but I absolutely believe, people will say, there are surface sayings like the harder you work, the luckier you get, which is actually not true. There's much more to it than that. And I think a big part of it is you have to take risk. A lot of people work very hard, but don't take risk and they don't make it and they wonder why. So that's why I don't like one-off sayings on Instagram, because you need nuance to it. You can work very hard, but take no risk and you won't make it. The more risk you take, the more chances of getting lucky, the more chances of being successful. But people risk and fear, right? We talked about this last time. I think you guys, what you thought of this whole point, but fear to me is such an asset. I don't know why people want to stop fear. It's like a power up. When you feel fear, it's like an adrenaline rush. You're going to achieve something, right? And
yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. So one thing that I used to do, so I started going to a lot of networking events when I came out of university. I met so many amazing people, but same way you said it, when you feel the fear, my heart is, because I'm quite introverted, if you didn't know, but the podcast pushes me out there just to speak. So whenever I kind of was in this networking events and my heart started beating, I just knew, okay, cool, you have to do it. So if it's me standing up and introducing myself and saying what I do and I feel my heart beating, I just do it. Or even in terms of introducing myself to someone else as well. And that's just with everything now. Once I feel the fear, I know my body's telling me to do it rather than me ignoring it. And also just knowing, like, what do you lose? Like, what do you lose if you say hi to that person or if you stand up and speak? And even like in terms of business as well, for some reason I used to hold back in terms of what I do. Some people would not know that I have the agency. I just used to kind of do work for clients and get referrals and get business through that way. But even just standing on it and saying, okay, this is what I do. I have a digital marketing agency. This is the knowledge and expertise I have. instead of holding back and thinking, okay, what if, like, why am I going to tell people? It's just, okay, say it, stand on it, and just put yourself out there rather than be scared to kind of the reactions you might get, because what you find, you get a lot of positive reactions rather than the reactions and self-doubt that comes up in your head as well. So it's just driving with that risk and fear as well.
I think it's also about challenging that fear accordingly. So when you feel your heart beating, embrace that feeling and say, okay, and be consciously aware of what you're feeling. Say, okay, I'm feeling fear, my heart's beating. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna slow down when I speak. So I'm using that feeling to control something else. But you're basically offsetting something with what you're feeling inside. I think that makes sense. But I'm not sure if it does.
No, I get what you mean. I think that's quite interesting. It's almost like taking the energy and pushing it inside to power you up to accept things properly. I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm an extrovert, but I still get nervous about things. And I think, it's I think it's only human. It's just how you channel it, isn't it? So, and I think, I mean, I can't. The person who's asked the question on here about fear, all I can think of is like, fear is a good thing, and it means that you're alive. People that don't feel fear are literally dead. If you don't feel fear, if you've managed to manage your life so you never feel fear, I feel like you're probably dead.
No, definitely, and you're just coasting. You're not doing anything outside your comfort zone, and you're just living kind of an average life. And you never know. And everyone says it like the other life that you want is on the other side of fear. So just lean into it, and honestly, you'll see a real great kind of reward after.
We got Durio on, just saying hi to you guys. So
hi, Durio.
His podcast, I just released it last week. I love
amazing,
it. What I love about it, there's so many things I love about it, but I always love it, and I know you guys having your own podcast will know what I mean, just raw honesty. Just the truth, how things are, and how the world works, and letting people understand. And I love Durio's insight into, the different paths we can go on in life, like the choices we make and how profound a difference they can have on your life. And so I even ones that you don't have a choice about, like myself, my mother kicked me out of home at 15 years old. My father passed away. I fell out, but she kicked me out. But that changed my life for the better. So even those bad moments. And do you guys have any like moments that you look back on that you think people could learn from, or you learn from? You can think about one. Well, I have another question coming up as well, so you can also think about this one. What's the most successful? It's a much more practical one. What's the most successful marketing strategy you've ever used? So, which one first?
The first one, just so we don't forget. One kind of there's been quite a few experiences that made me who I am today. Sadly, losing people very early on in life shows you that we all have an expiry date, and you should make sure you're working on your legacy. So be mindful of the legacy and how you treat people. And one quote that I stand by is making sure you leave people with the impression of an increase. So every time you come in contact with someone, making sure they feel more positive or feel lighter rather than heavier after coming in contact with you. And just making sure you're doing everything you want to so you don't leave the earth with any regrets. That's one thing that I definitely stand on. And also, luckily, after university, I managed to work for a small business that I just learned so much good and bad. So yeah, just taking whatever comes your way, really and truly. I couldn't get into the big banks because of how competitive it was. Yeah. I took a role at a small business, and I learned so much just being on the ground, if you know what I mean. So yeah, just taking whatever comes your way and making the most out of it.
Okay. Can you just repeat the question one more time, please?
Basically, I wondered if there was an experience that you think defined who you are, because I'm still blown away by how much you kind of get things. But was there anything that's kind of
so the one experience that I'll never ever forget was failing my first year of college, right? And when I failed, I saw all my friends going to university. I saw all my friends to do amazing things, and I realized, and I thought, okay, though you want the world to stop, no one is going to wait for you. Everyone's going to keep on doing whatever they're doing, achieving what they need to achieve. The world doesn't wait for you. The world is a harsh place. So if you don't, and what I have a saying, and I say, get it cracking. And what that means is execute, start doing it. And it's like anything you want to do, just do it, because no one's gonna wait for you. No one's gonna give you a handout. No one's gonna give you the blueprint. You can get advice, but that advice might not be beneficial to you. The best thing to do is execute, learn on the job, make your mistakes, learn from it, and fail forward, as Subomi says.
When to say no? Because I mean, I can only talk for myself. You know, like there's so many opportunities that do present themselves. You know,
Yep.
do you have a mechanism for?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is also one of the things I learned the hard way as well. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to 1,000 other things. So it's being very decisive and also being able to decipher which is the best opportunity. So just having that in mind, whenever you say yes to something, whether it's free work in return for publicity or whether it's free work for something else, or just doing someone a favor, when you say yes, just know you're saying no to other things. So as long as, and this is what opportunity cost is, right? The cost of doing one thing rather than another, or what you miss out when you choose one thing. So yeah, it's just making sure whatever you do, if you do say yes, and whatever you're saying no to, you don't mind. So yeah, just having that in mind and being very decisive when it comes to saying yes to things, because so many shiny objects come along your way. Even in terms of business as well, you could be told to, okay, cool. So for example, we're a digital marketing agency, but someone could say, okay, could you help us create video content? And I could be like, yeah, well, I know some videographers, I can add a nice markup and stuff like that. But that would also kind of take me out of the digital marketing strategies I could be working on and stuff like that. So it's just knowing what you're saying no to when you say yes to something.
For me, saying no, I have a system. So if I can't learn from it, if it doesn't align to my values, if it's not benefiting me financially, I'll say no to it. And even in regards to my business, I've had a lot of, for example, beauty box brands, beauty subscription brands message me to do a collaboration and incorporate my product. If it doesn't align to the principles of my brand or what my brand stands for, I'm not doing it. And I think also it's just having that, you need to have that confidence to say no, because I've found that a lot of people, they just they want everything quickly. We live in a microwave era. They want everything quickly, but you have to just really slow down within the process.
Did you say?
And also check in with your gut as well.
Did you say microwave there, by the way?
Microwave era, yeah.
I think we're living in the Uber era, aren't we? We can update that.
Or Uber era,
yeah. Again, for the people listening on audio, they're going to think you're in your 40s, you know. Like we're living in the Uber era, you know. Press a button, get what you want. Right?
That's it. Yeah.
I know. But yeah, there's also checking in with your gut as well, man. Whenever your gut says no, or you just have a weird feeling, just go with your gut, because honestly, along the lines, you'll find out why your gut was feeling that way and was telling you say no to it, because life always shows itself in the end and history repeats itself. So every time you don't listen to your gut, you find out why in the end, and you're like, oh, I should have just listened to it anyways.
How do you learn? I mean, again, I feel like I have my own answers to these questions, but I love to get your opinion. But how do you learn to listen to your gut? I mean, sometimes your gut can be wrong because of fear, right? So fear and your gut can get mixed up. How do you tune that in?
I guess it's also, so one thing I do, I journal a lot. So I write a lot of things in my notebook here. I just always check in with myself just in terms of being self-aware. So I always ask myself a few questions like, what am I avoiding? So when I say what am I avoiding, in terms of what do I know I should be doing, but I'm not doing it. So that's where, when it comes to your gut, so your gut could be saying, oh, don't do this because you're scared, but it's also, oh, don't do this because you know in the long run you're not going to benefit from it. So I think, like what Alex said, having principles and ways of guiding kind of your decision-making process, whether it aligns or whether this is something that's going to be beneficial, not just financially, but also in terms of your time. And do you also have capacity for it as well? And I guess the more you do it, the more you go with your gut, the more you know, okay, cool, when my body feels this type of way, or when my mind is telling me no, or when I'm not sure about something, I should just say no, or I should just say yes. So just again, like you can't read about push-ups, you just have to do it. So the more you do it, the more your kind of decision-making process is, the more aligned you are with your whole body in terms of saying yes to these kind of things as well.
My take is a little bit different. And I think one book to read, by the way, is The Chimp Paradox. And I found that never make a decision either when you're very sad or angry or when you're very happy.
Yeah.
So whenever I make a decision, I always try to make sure that I'm at a steady state, I'm at just an equilibrium. I'm just in a neutral state. And then if I still can't decide, that's when I go with my inside. It's like, okay, what do I feel is necessary? What do I feel is required? And then that's what I make my decision. And just going back to the book, so the chimp paradox. So basically, the inner chimp is the bit in your brain that processes emotion. And basically, what the book talks about is not to fuel that inner chimp. So even in work, if you feel that someone's being condescending to you, if someone's trying to talk down to you or undercut you, whatever, don't embrace that feeling. Make sure you calm down and then address the problem. So.
That's very, very true. I mean, I put it a different way, but it's kind of the same point, which is your subconscious brain is quite powerful.
Yeah.
Your subconscious, you don't even realize you're making decisions based on what your subconscious training was. So how you were brought up or your own belief systems. And that can make you make incorrect decisions because you're making assumptions. You know, the subconscious is helping you make it's helping us breathe right now. It's helping us do things automatically without having to think about them. Sometimes if you make a decision within an emotional state, your subconscious is making that decision for you, and it's a big mistake because it can be out of date or wrong. That's, to your point, quite right. The other way of putting it is get to a calm state, use your frontal lobe, and figure out maybe some logic to the decision as opposed to the emotion.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to ask about partnerships and stuff and go a little bit deeper on that because I think a lot of people struggle with partnerships. Just before I do, I want to answer one. These guys are all asking me questions. They're getting a bit annoyed now. I'm not asking them.
I can answer the one up on the screen right now.
Yeah, please. Yeah, give us your view.
Yeah. So the most successful marketing strategy that we've used is just giving value up front. So in terms of our podcast, one thing that really goes well and we've been able to grow it very organically is just giving consistent value. So whether that's in terms of information people may not know through the podcast or just through our social media pages as well. Funny enough, one of our most successful posts on our Instagram page was of what the recession is and how people should kind of go about it. And what a lot of people, and it's creating a brand that has trust and being able to connect with your kind of audience in terms of knowing what their problems are and knowing what their struggles are and being able to offer solutions. So once you're able to kind of offer consistent solutions and value up front, you build trust. And once you have that trust, you have an audience that's engaged. So being able to understand and tap in to your audience, know what their problems are, know what kind of solutions they're looking for, knowing what's the best way to serve them, that's how you connect with them on a deeper level. Because what a lot of brands and businesses do, they try just to ask. They try to ask. But once you give value up front, you asking doesn't even come across as you just want money from them. It comes across as you're giving them more value. So it's making sure whatever you're doing, you're giving value first to your customer and to your audience, and you're serving them in the best way possible.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder where, is this our own thoughts or is this Gary V? Like where are our own opinions and where do Gary V's opinions become our own opinions? He talks a lot about this, doesn't he? Like give. And I do love it when a lot of influencers, I was just looking at Jason Capital. You seen this guy?
Yeah.
He was kind of having a little bit of a dig at Gary V, and he was kind of saying, Gary V, he's always saying he's giving. And then he says, hey, do you mind buying some wine? Would you buy my sneakers? Would you like to use my agency? Would you, so it's interesting, isn't it? Getting that balance between like giving and genuinely giving and also having an angle to the giving,
Yeah.
Someone once said to me about charities, like, I made a donation to charity and they said to me, do you want to make it so that no one knows you donated it, or do you want people to know? And as a marketing person, I'm like, well, why not tell people? Yes, absolutely. I want people to know. I think it's good to show that you're giving, right?
Yeah.
And they said, well, then just keep a note. That's marketing, right? That's not charity. Which I thought was an interesting distinction,
I have to disagree with that. I guess it's all about kind of self-awareness down again. Once you know you're doing it with the good intent, in terms of serving your audience or serving people, like you say, giving to charity. Once you know you're giving it to help people and better the world, like even though you get something out of it, and this is the thing, there's nothing wrong with win-win situations, right? You're making the world a much better place, so we're serving our audience, we get much more connected with them, we have engagement with them. So I guess there's nothing wrong with asking in return, but it's just kind of that entitlement, knowing that, okay, because I give, I get back, or expecting people to give back because you give is more given genuinely in terms of wanting to make the world a better place and wanting to serve your audience and consumers as well, because you know what they need. So be that person who offers the solutions to their problems.
I guess for a lot of people, I mean, we're talking marketing strategies here for a second. You know, it is tough for people to give when they need cash flow and they need income. You know, how much
as well. There's marketing and there's sales. Marketing is more long term. Marketing is more your brand, building your brand, your customer loyalty and stuff like that. Sales is getting the sales. So when it comes to sales, you need systems in place. You need funnels. You need a way of reaching out to your leads and closing them as well. So when it comes, that's the thing. A lot of people don't like to distinguish marketing and sales, but there's a clear difference. And when it comes to marketing, you can't expect returns straight away. It's more of a long-term strategy in terms of positioning, in terms of having a brand and building that customer loyalty as well. If you're looking for cash, get people on the cold calls and try and sell to as many people as possible.
It's very interesting you mentioned that. I just listened to the podcast you guys did with the guy that is in recruitment, and he takes care of sales. And you know, I liked his take on how sales is almost like a dirty word, and it should be. I think, and funnily enough, I in my early career I called myself a sales expert, and then later as I got posher and richer, I called myself a marketing expert. Able to kind of slide sales into the marketing banner. But you know, to me, sales is also a very long-term thing. I mean, I when I first started my agency, which I sold to PwC, I basically, you know, they bought that company because I built a client list, and I built that client list by writing down the 50 companies I wanted to work with, and then spending 9 years to get them all on board. You know, and so a lot of that is marketing. So you know, we'd send them a brochure, we'd send them something like for Christmas as a, you know, as a value, and we'd send some insights we noticed in the magazine related to their industry, and you know, that is sales, right? It sounds like marketing, and I think the two do get confusing for people. So it's interesting your explanation. I think it's interesting knowledge for people to pick up on this. I think there is a much more long-term need for people to think about their relationships with clients and not just try and get money out of them. And that means you probably need to manage your cash flow well, because if you go on trying to sell something, you're going to be one of these bloody funnel sales businesses, which I hate. I hate it. In fact, someone's asking about that. Do you think network marketing is a good idea? We'll answer that question in a minute. Before we jump to that, Lex, you got any views on successful marketing strategies?
No, I think Subomi hit the nail on the head. To be fair, I don't think that have much to add.
And what do you think, as it's been asked about network marketing? Do you guys have any views on this?
I don't have much views. It all depends. It all depends on who you are. Whether if you have a network you can leverage, if you have products that you can get a lot of people. If, for example, if I was like a cool kid in school and I knew a lot of people who listened to me and I have huge influence, I know for a fact I could get people on this network marketing scheme. But I don't know. I guess it's just down to who you are, whether you need whether you want something for yourself or whether you want to be part of an organization and help bring other people in and benefit from their ecosystem and infrastructure. But I can't really speak much on that because I'm not into network marketing. I'm more into entrepreneurship, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't pay much attention to network marketing at all.
Well, I'm a bit down on it too, but I've got a friend who does it, and he raves about it. He talks about how, you know, it's basically leveraging your network to make you rich and make other people rich. I just see it as pyramid selling, sadly. I've got a bit of a negative view on it, but I think, as always, with any sales system, my view, any sales system out there that you use, if you're selling something genuinely to people and you're genuinely bringing value to people, then it doesn't matter what system you use. What I don't like about network marketing is that it's like the pyramid selling thing, is the people at the top get very rich and all these people down below end up with stock they can't sell, and they're taking, you know, $100 off their mates and calling it networking. You know, it's not good when it's like that. But if you've got a good business and you're selling something that's valuable to people, then I think it doesn't matter what system you use. Eventually, it will work, right?
And definitely don't do it as a get rich quick scheme as well. That's where a lot of people kind of flop, because they try and go in knowing that, okay, I can make this amount of money because the person in a shiny suit and car is kind of told me this is how much they make, and I can make the same. So yeah, it's just a lot of the time you just need to stop and question yourself, like, why do I want to get into this? Is this what I really want to do, and what benefits and am I going to get from this as well? So I guess you just dig a bit deeper before doing it, because we can all have our point of views. But
I think even to back at that, that's just like anything. Like when anyone comes to you with an opportunity, don't be afraid to scrutinize them. So, for example, 2 days ago, I had a call with these two girls, basically offering me.
This is late night now, guys. It's fine. We can talk like this. It's late night TV. We're fine. Carry on.
They were offering me social media management, and I said, okay, like that's fine. You can offer that, but how good are you? Do you have receipts? Do you have artifacts of where you've done this and demonstrated success? I was really scrutinizing them. I think don't be afraid to do that, because if someone's come to you with an opportunity, they're either going to take your time and take your money, which is valuable.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I always say the only thing that money has ever really brought me is time. You know, time is the most valuable thing we've got, and people waste way too much of it. Not here right now, learning from you guys, but you know, generally speaking. But yeah, I'm getting a lot of questions on TikTok as well, and I can't throw it up on the screen because the system I'm using is not integrated with TikTok. But you guys are getting a lot of love. I guess one of the questions that came up, I did a TikTok yesterday about this kind of concept of fake it till you make it. And, you know, in startup world, this is quite normal, right? Everyone's faking it till they make it. Elon Musk even said it, you know, like, I'm going to put a man on Mars, right? And he hasn't even got a rocket ship, you know, so he hasn't even got a scientist working for him yet. I don't know if you guys are watching Spitting Image at all. They're doing some funny parodies on Elon Musk. But anyway, you know, it is interesting. What's your feeling on this kind of fake it till you make it mantra?
So I guess faking till you make it is also part of marketing, right? So with us, the way we kind of do it is more just learning it's teaching while learning, if you know what I mean. That's kind of something I stand by. Like, I don't know it all, and one thing that's worked really well is just the transparency in our podcast. People knowing, and know they're part of a journey-driven podcast in terms where we're growing and we're learning and we're sharing what we're learning along the way, as well as having entrepreneurs sharing what they're learning along the way as well. And what we see, faking it till you make it does get you a lot of love, but in terms of just integrity for me and Alex, and knowing that we are kind of staying true to who we are, it's just showing people that this is who we are, what we do. We're learning along the way, we're teaching along the way as well, and people buy into that, and people buy into like the realness and transparency. So I guess if we started a podcast, or if we started acting like we knew it all, and we are these professionals and we are these kind of specialists in these areas, I mean, people will probably be able to see through it in terms of when we can't answer questions and stuff like that. Like, you hear us saying, oh, I'm not the best to answer that, or well skilled, or know much about that industry as well. So yeah, it's teaching while learning. It's a great strategy, and it's what our listeners are buying into, and that's what we're going to continue doing.
I think faking it until you make it can work, but it can't work forever. There will come a point where you're asked a question, or you're in the position where you just can't fake it, and eventually you will be outed. So myself, as well as Shuz, I take pride in knowing that I don't know it all. I take pride in the fact that I'm still on this journey. And just as Subomi said, for me, I'm very big on just keeping it real, just being yourself, who you are. You know, there's no point faking it, because you can only do that for so long. And the funny thing is, right, I actually made that mistake when I was on my year industry, and I was able to move to a new organization, and this organization was so far out of my comfort zone, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna have to be fake. But then I realized a couple of weeks in, I spoke to my manager, and she pulled me aside. She was like, "Is everything okay? You don't seem yourself." So I wasn't my bubbly self. I wasn't my inquisitive self. And I thought, okay, you know what? Faking it till you make it doesn't actually work. So just be.
It gets draining.
Yeah, it's draining. It takes time and energy.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's interesting. I personally struggled with this my whole career because I like to think I'm by no means perfect, but I like to think I'm honest. And sometimes in sales, so for example, I was working in Hong Kong and I wanted to win a contract with CNN. And part of the mandate was you had to have 30 people available to work on this contract if you won it. And I had 12 people working for me at the time. So I literally, I found the people that I would hire if I won the contract, but I put them on the deck as if they worked for me, and they didn't.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's discretion, though. I heard I was in a call with Duro just earlier, and the person said the exact same thing when he was going for a contract, and they said he needed like 5 people. I guess that's kind of different to faking it, like acting like you know it all. But in terms of positioning your business and knowing that if your business was to get the CNN contract, you could deliver. That's kind of different to saying, yeah, we can do it, and you can't do it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think that's the distinction. I guess I'm trying to let people know. Interestingly enough, you only get sometimes 15 seconds on TikTok to explain something complicated. And my thing was, it's fine to fake it till you make it. I actually think it's no problem if you're sincere in the follow through. So to me, that's the defining point. If I say to CNN, look, I can do the work and I've got the people and I've ticked your boxes, you give me the work and then I do the work, then to me, that is the definition of a positive fake it till you make it.
Agreed.
If you say you've got the people, you win the work, you pocket the money, you never do the work, then that's what I never see burglars that well off, actually. Most of them end up in prison, right? I mean, if you just rob people, then you don't go very far, I think. But I fake it till you make it. It's pretty powerful. People can just grasp the nuance of it, the positive nuance of it, which is it's no problem to act like you can achieve something, and then when you actually get given the chance to do it, you actually do it. That's impossible, by the way. I mean,
exactly. I was going to say that a lot of people kind of.
Go ahead.
A lot of people kind of undersell themselves. They lose out on so much. Like I said earlier,
I think that's a bigger problem than the opposite way.
Yeah, like I said earlier, for some reason I didn't really used to tell people what I do. I just kind of get along with the work and then like get clients through that way. But knowing that, okay, like say you're this person, say this is what you can do, believe in yourself, and believing in yourself also comes with you vocalizing that, okay, I am this person, I am able to do this work, and stop selling yourself short. So yeah, definitely being able to kind of say like, why can't I get this contract? Why can't I go against the bigger digital marketing firms as well, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm getting loads of like TikTok like gifts right now, which is basically money. People are giving me money. I'm a millionaire, and people give you more money when you're rich. It's ridiculous.
That's why we're trying to get to your level.
Here's more money, like I don't. But I give all my money away on TikTok. In fairness to me, I'm actually getting paid by TikTok as well now. So nice. I give all my money away to anyone that wants to start a business, anyone doing something purposeful.
Amazing.
Trying to not get richer. It doesn't seem fair.
Amazing.
Just finishing up, a lot of people are asking about this. What is hustle? I mean, I thought you guys would be the perfect ones to answer this. What's your definition of hustle?
There's so many layers to it. I guess at the bare bones, it's grit, determination, the willingness to get up and go, and just go after anything that you want.
Yeah, relentless.
Despite the setbacks, despite the knockbacks, despite people telling you no, it's being thick-skinned and just having the mindset, no matter what, I'm going to execute, I'm going to see it through, and I'm going to make something happen.
Yeah, to me, hustle is just making it happen, man. Finding a solution in problems, finding a way to make things happen, maneuvering through the storm. That's why I see hustle. So hustle could be in terms of as an entrepreneur in a workspace, or just wanting better for your life as well. Just really hustling, trying to make things happen, trying to find the solutions, trying to find a way to maneuver through the storm.
I think also when a lot of people think hustle is glamorous, it's horrible. Sleepless nights, bags under your eyes, you're tired, sometimes you can't eat. It's horrible. but at the end of it, it will pay dividends.
It's interesting because that word, when I moved to Hong Kong when I was 23 years old, and a lot of people used to compliment me in England. You're a real hustler, Simon. Like you're making it work. And when I got to Hong Kong, it's a very sophisticated city. And someone asked me, what do you do? I said, I'm a hustler. They actually thought it was like a con merchant.
Yeah, cheating people.
The equivalent translation was, someone that's just trying to get something out of you without not giving anything in return.
Yeah.
So it's words are very interesting, aren't they? They can be taken out of context, and I think the word hustle to me is such a positive word. And when people tell me they're in a jam, the first thing I want to tell them is that hustle your way out of it.
For sure.
But it's interesting how that word has also become negative.
Yeah, I guess, like you said, context, different parts of the world, different societies, people view things differently. In some societies, people who are seen as hustlers are the most hardworking people, if you know what I mean. So in some, it's like those people who don't want to work and want to find a way to cheat life. So yeah, I guess it's all about context and understanding where in the world you're at, if you know what I mean. But I do agree with you. Hustle is a very positive word to us, and hustling smart as well isn't just cheating the system, is more finding solutions in problems, finding a way to maneuver through things, and just like we said, with life, is not all about hard work. It's also about hustling smart and finding the smarter ways of doing things as well. So that's what we mean when we say hustle smart as well.
Yeah.
Guys, I could talk to you all night. I look forward to the time when this stupid coronavirus crap is behind us, and we can hang out. I really admire you both. I was honoured to be on your podcast show. I'll just throw up quickly so I don't forget. Guys, please check out the links below and on the screen now. Show my guests some love through their social media. Food for your skin. You've got to get some skin sorbet going, guys. Everyone's got to buy some of that. How do I get some of that? I feel like I've got a 3-year-old who basically wakes him up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning. My skin is literally so dry. I've got to get myself some food for skin.
Don't worry, Simon. I'll
some sponsorship. Was that?
Don't worry, I've got you. I'll give you some.
Well, cool. Please, everybody listening, if you've got any value today, I'd appreciate if you went and gave some love to their social media. Go check out Hustle Smart podcast. I personally really enjoyed being on the podcast, and they have some amazing guests. I'm a big fan, and I listen every time a new one pops up. But guys, thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you for having us, Simon. We really appreciate it and all the work you're doing.
Oh, thanks. Likewise, guys. I'll speak to you very soon. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too. Take care. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
There we go, guys. That's tonight's broadcast. As I just said, please do me a favor. Go give some love to these guys. Fantastic entrepreneurs. All the links down below. You guys on TikTok, I'll talk to you in a second and share with you what's happening. I know you probably missed, if you missed the beginning bit, who the guests are. I'll go through it in a minute. But thanks so much for joining. Thanks again for listening to both broadcasts today. I know you guys have thousands of things you could be tuning into, like Netflix right now. The fact you've taken time out to listen to what we've got to say, I really appreciate it. It tells me you're probably really interested in entrepreneurship. So if we can do anything to help you, feel free to reach out, thepurposefulproject.com. Our mission is to help 1 million people start a business of their own and make sure anyone that is with a business today is not feeling alone, especially through this difficult time. It's been given support by my community to help them succeed. So if you know anyone out there that needs any help with their business, or you are someone that needs some help, please feel free to reach out and continue to tune in to get insights from some of the world's most successful and interesting entrepreneurs. See you later, guys.